We'll go to board comment now, and there is no time limit on it. We'll start with Mr. Bergeron.
Well, first, I want to congratulate Colonel Reynolds. As a former commissioner for the FWC for a decade, I can tell you my experience with her. It didn't matter if it was midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, all the issues, every time I called. I want to thank you so much for her leadership and her vision to protect one of the natural wonders of the world. It's been a great relationship, and we want to make sure you stay around. And for all of that, I'm going to give you a gift, free alligator wrestling lessons. But thank you for your total dedication. Our meeting yesterday, I just want to say that these workshops, I know it's takes a lot of time, but I tell you, it's so important that we're able to listen to all of our stakeholders. And I thought the panel that was chosen, Drew, was an excellent panel, people with great knowledge. And I think it allowed all of us to be able to have a dialogue with experts and be very transparent on all of the different issues that we're going to be dealing with. I think as we continue to go forward with Everglades restoration, that we have to look at all the projects that we've built over the last 18, 19 years, and we have to examine any missing links that would allow us to connect and get the benefits of billions of dollars that we have spent in connecting modified water delivery, and then addressing the quality of water issues with the additional monitoring that we are doing to see how we can get our quality of water right for the future of 8.7 million people in 16 counties. And but I really, Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the workshops. I think they're just extremely important for us to connect all the dots, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Roma.
you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to echo Ron's remarks about Colonel Reynolds. As a new board member, she has been just instrumental in assisting my understanding in terms of the interrelationships between the Corps and the district, and also so generous with her time in assisting the basin with the Picayune Strand and unraveling all of the pieces of that. And your leadership will be missed, but your partnership, I hope, will continue. And I really appreciate that. Also, the workshop that we had last night, talk about a wealth of information that we could really use. And I think that something that jumped out at me was the fact that even more so than what I thought before, how interconnected everything is. And at a previous meeting, we talked about sequencing, and I think that becomes even more important when you add that layer of understanding of those pieces that we learned about last night. You have so many natural systems interconnected. Then you have our actions creating conditions that changes the setting for those natural conditions. And then you have the service responsibility that we have to the citizens of Florida. And that is a whole bunch of stuff it's interconnected to the degree that we have to figure it out so that we know what to do first in order to move forward in the best possible way. And it was just for me anyway, it was just a window into all those natural systems and how they're interconnected. Not to mention flood protection, water supply, and everything else. So that's going to be a challenge. Thank you.
Vice Chair Wagner.
I would also like to echo thanks to Lieutenant Colonel Reynolds. She's getting praised a lot around here today, but it's totally deserved. The work she's done has been meaningful, and she's really been a master of her craft, I think, especially in 3 ways, which the interaction is not necessarily easy with many of our stakeholders. She has always, to me, been poised. She has always been prepared, and she has always been pleasant. And I think, you know, what you start to learn in your own situation as a governing board member on this board is that things come at you pretty quickly from a variety of different directions and a variety of different stakeholders, and you think at one moment you're pleasing everybody, and then all of a sudden somebody else comes out, you know, they've got a real concern. And I think Lieutenant Colonel Reynolds has really handled that is an example of how at least I aspire to handle a lot of these situations. So thank you very much for your service. You are certainly going to be missed, and I'd be surprised if your phone wasn't ringing, even though you left sort of formally here. So thank you very much for everything that you've done. I also want to thank staff for yesterday's workshop. It was incredibly beneficial. We only had obviously 4 hours. I think we were done in 4 hours and 15 minutes, so not too bad there. And the information was done, I think, just right. It was teed up correctly. The charts were fantastic. The information that was given was, frankly, stuff I had not seen really before. And the way that it was presented, I thought, was incredibly helpful. It was really a positive meeting with a lot of optimism from everybody across the board in terms of where we are and where we're hopefully going. I would like to, I mentioned it yesterday, and I think it's important to be mentioned again. I do think this is something we should be examining and pushing forward boldly. Is this, you know, it doesn't seem like a massive project, but to me it seemed like there was a lot of buy-in from a lot of stakeholders who typically aren't on the same side of things. They agreed to this sort of curtain wall, you know, protecting the seepage of the water east and keeping it in the park while keeping some of the farm areas drier. To me, that was a very positive piece of or project we can look into. I hope we'll push it forward in an effort to try to get things on the board that help us. I do think, you know, Ron's comments are correct. We're close to getting things really, really, I mean, we've got a lot of tools in our shed, but there's some element of plugging them in together. And it feels like we're really close, and if we can do that, you know, hopefully we can create the magic that we need to sort of thread the needle on all these issues. So I would like to look at that seepage wall because I do think that it's very important we have commonality with stakeholders on that.
Thanks. I'm going to echo my colleague's sentiments for Lieutenant Colonel Reynolds. I met you, I think it was last summer, in less than ideal circumstances, and your communication skills are unbelievable. I remember watching you deal with some people on the West Coast who were not happy at all, and for good reason, and you did it with such poise. You're a real testament to the Army's best, and I can't thank you enough, and you are going to be missed. I'd also like to thank our staff. The preparation for Hurricane Dorian was incredible. I was so impressed with that. I don't know if people who don't watch this district day to day probably don't understand all that goes in behind the scenes to make sure everything keeps running when we have a hurricane or preparing for a hurricane. And I thank you to all the staff. I know it's incredibly disruptive. I know you're always worried about your families. You're always worried about your own personal property. And at the same time, you rise above that and put that aside and make sure that's taken care of, and then worry about the residents of South Florida. So I really appreciate that, and I thank you from the governing board and from the residents of South Florida for all you did. Luckily, we didn't have it. We had a miss, but the preparation was phenomenal, and this governing board's all new. Drew, I know you and Sean and knew, Jennifer here knew, so everyone sort of got to see this as a trial run, but it was a really good trial run, and I thank you all because it could have been bad. I'd like to talk to something about something I haven't talked about before, and I'm not allowed to talk to anyone unless we're sitting here in this situation. So I want to talk to Chair Roman a little bit about Big Cypress Basin. I've been approached by two of the municipalities in southern Lee County about trying to expand the borders of Big Cypress Basin into southern Lee County. And that's something that we haven't talked about at all because we can't. I've talked a little bit to staff about it, but it's something that I'd like to explore further and sort of see if that's possible, if it makes sense to do. I've talked to the legislative delegation in Lee and Northern Collier, and they're okay with it, or at least with us exploring it. So that's something that, you know, in the next couple of meetings, if we can put that on the agenda to start taking a look at, I'd like to do that. And I don't know if you've had any interaction with Estero or Benita about it.
We've had some, the basin administrator, Lisa Keeler, has been in some meetings, some initial discussions regarding what their expectations might be and what they'd hope to get out of that. And we've also had some conversations with the county as well, but they're all preliminary at this point.
Great. I just wanted to make sure you were up to speed, or as up to speed as I am, which it sounds like you are, and that we can sort of pursue exactly what the boundary changes should be if they make sense for the district, if they make sense for Lee County and Benita and Estero, and if they do, then let's see what we need to do.
I think the initial challenge has been them being able to express what their expectations are and what they hope to get out from such a merger to join the basin. That's been the challenge so far. So hopefully we can nail that down and we can talk about it further.
Great. I hope that Lisa, the executive director, will be able to help them understand what we can and can't do as a district, and you can do as a basin. And I appreciate your help with that.
Right. Thank you.
Mr. Lipich?
The first time Lieutenant Colonel Reynolds came to the Rivers Coalition meeting, which is always, pit of vipers sometimes. I mean, a lot of upset people with the estuary situation. I watched her change that room without even saying a word. She came in, and rather than talking down to people, so to speak, at the podium, she came in and she looked at the people sitting at the table and kind of non-verbally asked if she could sit at the table with the board members. And she did. And she sat down talking to the Rivers Coalition. And all of that tenseness just melted away. And I thought, that's a superstar. So thank you very much for the big things and the little things that you've taught us all. I wanted to thank Dr. Gary Goforth for his comments about no releases and our wonderful governor and our staff. Thank you very much. And I myself was probably for the very first time, and I've been here since 1965, I was scared when Dorian was heading straight towards us. And I want to thank all of the South Florida Water Management staff for all of the work they did. I was obsessed on it. I sat in on all the EOC calls that I could. And another thing with all of that is we help the people of the Bahamas and deal with it ourselves. I really think in our strategic plan, resiliency needs to be a part of our strategic plan, which it's not now. We're in a new world. I also wanted to briefly ask that with the 40E-61 rulemaking, that I brought this up at my briefing, that hopefully as a group, when we go into those public talks, that we don't just open up to the public without some kind of expectation from the board or structure, because that will be so complex that I think it will be difficult for the public to just show up at a meeting, and they might start talking about other things too, because they don't know what the rulemaking process allows for 40E-61. So my request is for some more structure communication-wise, and as a board, what we know we're going into when we get to that.